They said he wouldn't dare walk away from a surefire legacy. They said no one willingly leaves a seat that's practically custom fitted to deliver championships. Yet Lewis Hamilton has never been one to follow the script. With a move that left even the biggest skeptics stunned, he slipped on that iconic red suit, brushing off skeptics who claimed he was taking an unnecessary gamble. But behind the glossy unveiling and the crowd of cameras, there was a deeper question. What was really driving Hamilton to risk everything on a team known for its high-pressure environment and endless internal politics? At first, the rumors were unstoppable. Some said he was chasing history. Only the bravest legends attempt to conquer multiple teams and succeed. Others whispered about behind-the-scenes tensions at his previous outfit, implying he no longer felt heard or supported. The tabloids feasted on wild speculation, pushing headlines about potential conflicts of interest, hidden sponsor demands, or secret clauses in Hamilton's contract that made him bolt for Ferrari. No matter which story anyone believed, everyone agreed on one thing. This was going to be the biggest test of Hamilton's career. They said he wouldn't dare walk away from a surefire legacy. They said no one willingly leaves a seat that's practically custom fitted to deliver championships. Yet Lewis Hamilton has never been one to follow the script. With a move that left even the biggest skeptics stunned, he slipped on that iconic red suit, brushing off skeptics who claimed he was taking an unnecessary gamble. But behind the glossy unveiling and the crowd of cameras, there was a deeper question. What was really driving Hamilton to risk everything on a team known for its high-pressure environment and endless internal politics? At first, the rumors were unstoppable. Some said he was chasing history. Only the bravest legends attempt to conquer multiple teams and succeed. Others whispered about behind-the-scenes tensions at his previous outfit, implying he no longer felt heard or supported. The tabloids feasted on wild speculation, pushing headlines about potential conflicts of interest, hidden sponsor demands, or secret clauses in Hamilton's contract that made him bolt for Ferrari. No matter which story anyone believed, everyone agreed on one thing. This was going to be the biggest test of Hamilton's career. Out in the paddock, the speculation only escalated. Insiders at Ferrari leaked tidbits of tension between Hamilton's expectations and the team's storied culture. Some rumors painted him as too direct, too fixated on data-driven adjustments in an environment that prized tradition and hierarchy. Others spun a tale of simmering rivalry with Charles Leclerc, the driver many see as Ferrari's future. It was whispered that Leclerc felt overshadowed by Hamilton's star power, especially once the marketing machine started focusing heavily on the new arrival. The gossip alone could have shattered the morale of any newcomer. Yet Hamilton wore a calm, almost enigmatic expression whenever a microphone was placed in front of him. "I'm learning a lot," he would say, repeating that phrase in varied forms while careful not to promise immediate miracles. Then Bahrain happened. On paper, the results didn't scream victory. Hamilton qualified a modest ninth, and fans braced for another weekend of disappointment. Even he admitted in a brutally honest moment, "I'm not doing a good enough job." That was candid. It felt like a crack in the armor of positivity he'd displayed. The media swarmed around the soundbite, predicting that if Hamilton himself couldn't stay optimistic, the Ferrari dream might collapse faster than it started. But the real surprise came the next day, under that burning desert sun. From the start of the race, Hamilton looked different. Sure, he didn't rocket past everyone with some mesmerizing show of superiority. However, corner by corner, lap by lap, he advanced with a methodical precision. Small, calculated moves, never flamboyant, never reckless, brought him forward. When he ultimately reached P5, casual viewers shrugged, calling it decent but not groundbreaking. Yet for those watching closely, something transformative was happening. During that crucial middle stint, Hamilton's onboard footage told a story of seamless synergy with the car, a harmony that had been missing for weeks. Every time the rear slid a bit or threatened to lock up, Hamilton corrected it like he'd been piloting Ferraris for his entire career. And then came the statement that shook the post-race debriefs. "For the first time, the car felt like an extension of me." That one sentence was a pivot point. The chatter wasn't about whether Hamilton could adapt anymore. It was about how quickly Ferrari could use this newfound chemistry to reshape their championship ambitions. Team engineers huddled around data, picking apart each sector, analyzing how Hamilton's corner entries shifted from the first stint to the second, noticing fewer wasted movements and more consistent throttle application. The sense of relief was palpable. They finally had proof that Hamilton's style, once seen as a mismatch, could be molded to extract performance from Ferrari's notoriously finicky setup. And yet nobody was foolish enough to believe the struggle was over. Hamilton himself was the first to admit he still felt like a work in progress. "I've been all over the place with setup," he confessed in a subdued voice, "but I'm migrating toward Charles. It's not copying him, but there's a sweet spot that he's found, and I need to understand it better." That honesty was staggering. A driver with his accolades openly stating that he's taking cues from a much younger teammate. It signaled humility and, perhaps more importantly, a laser-focused determination to absorb every lesson. Where many superstars might let ego get in the way, Hamilton's approach suggested a willingness to do the painstaking, sometimes uncomfortable work of re-engineering his instincts. Naturally, this also fueled more rumors. Is there a genuine rivalry between Hamilton and Leclerc? Do they share data transparently, or is there a silent tug-of-war for team leadership? Paddock whispers pointed to an incident in a simulator session, where both drivers allegedly tried to fine-tune a new corner entry approach, and the atmosphere got tense. Some said Leclerc questioned whether Hamilton's vast experience might overshadow his own preferences, while Hamilton insisted he was just breaking it down to rebuild something unstoppable. The truth, as always, likely lies somewhere in the middle. But the tension only added drama to an already electrifying environment. Behind closed doors, team strategists saw an opportunity. They noticed how Hamilton's adaptability could become a secret weapon, especially when mid-race conditions demanded on-the-fly adjustments. They began trusting him with more experimental setups, banking on his feedback to streamline the car's complexities. Meanwhile, fans wondered if Ferrari was at risk of prioritizing Hamilton too heavily. Leclerc's supporters urged caution, not wanting to see their star overshadowed by a legacy champion. Through it all, Hamilton kept his head down, iterating on each new lesson, analyzing metrics well into the night, refining not just how he braked or turned, but even how he managed tire temperatures on certain tracks where Ferrari had historically struggled. The controversies didn't end there. A few outspoken pundits suggested Ferrari was pressuring Hamilton to alter his public persona, to be less vocal about certain social issues or personal causes. They pointed to vague PR guidelines that might restrict the ways in which Hamilton interacts with the media, preserving Ferrari's carefully crafted image. Though never confirmed, these stories circulated widely, spurring debates over whether Hamilton's authenticity was being compromised. He brushed off such claims, noting that he hadn't abandoned any personal missions close to his heart. Still, it was impossible to ignore how Ferrari, with its deep roots in motorsport tradition, might handle a driver known for speaking his mind, especially if that driver was also grappling with the biggest technical transition of his career. Yet the real twist in this unfolding saga is how each challenge seemed to sharpen Hamilton's resolve. Every rumor of tension, every shaky qualifying performance, every behind-the-scenes whisper of conflict, it all seemed to feed his insatiable appetite for progress. Even those who initially mocked his move began to change their tone. Rival drivers noticed that Hamilton's humility had morphed into a sort of quiet ferocity. He wasn't making grandiose predictions or bold proclamations about future victories. He was simply chipping away at the details, learning from Leclerc where beneficial, and forging new alliances within the engineering department to accelerate his growth. In the media pen, Hamilton spoke about unlearning greatness. That phrase caught everyone's attention. He elaborated, saying that everything he'd perfected at Mercedes and McLaren, those patterns and habits that had won him countless races, couldn't be copy-pasted into the Ferrari ecosystem. Instead, he had to unlearn deeply ingrained reflexes, dissect the car's behavior at a microscopic level, and adopt a fresh mindset that accommodated the new machine's quirks. What made the story compelling was how he framed it not as a setback, but as an evolutionary step for his own driving career. He even suggested that this process revitalized his passion for racing, giving him a puzzle to solve rather than a formula to repeat. It was a daring statement, and it sent waves of excitement through a fan base eager to see Ferrari return to its glory days. Meanwhile, Charles Leclerc wasn't exactly standing still. He too was learning from Hamilton's wealth of experience, analyzing racecraft nuances, and exploring how Hamilton managed certain high-pressure situations. For all the talk of rivalry, a growing faction within the paddock believed their collaboration could be the spark Ferrari needed. Perhaps they each had pieces of a larger puzzle, and the synergy between them might push the team beyond what a single dominant driver could achieve alone. That prospect of synergy, an actual partnership that merges Hamilton's legacy and Leclerc's raw potential, became a tantalizing storyline for fans hoping to see Ferrari break new ground. But that's not the entire story either. Ferrari is never just about two drivers. The entire structure, management, strategy teams, aerodynamic departments, functions in a high-stakes environment saturated with tradition. Insiders claim that certain members of the old guard resisted some of Hamilton's suggestions, feeling they clashed with the Ferrari way of doing things. It took considerable persuasion from both Hamilton and a few forward-thinking engineers to secure the changes necessary to optimize the car for his style. Some scorned the idea of turning the car into a Hamilton-friendly machine, warning that the team risked losing the advantage they'd built around Leclerc. Tensions bubbled just beneath the surface, leading to hush-hush meetings in locked briefing rooms where decisions about the car's future direction were debated, sometimes heatedly. Still, progress is rarely a neat, linear path. Despite the friction and drama, incremental gains became noticeable with each passing Grand Prix. Hamilton would arrive at a track, endure a frustrating practice session, then find pockets of improvement by Saturday. Even if Sunday didn't yield a podium, there was always some glimmer of evolution. A better exit here, a more stable rear end in medium-speed corners there, a sharper feel under braking. Gradually, the chatter about "is Hamilton's time at Ferrari doomed?" transformed into how long before they crack the code for the entire race weekend. And once public perception shifts in Hamilton's favor, it tends to gain momentum quickly. Those who recall his earlier career can trace a pattern. Hamilton often thrives when he's cornered by doubt. He's shown it in lower formulae, at McLaren in times of organizational chaos, and even during rocky patches at Mercedes. Now, with Ferrari, he faces a new brand of skepticism, amplified by the team's legendary pressure. But instead of crumbling, he appears to be forging a new path, one that might redefine the notion of how a champion adapts later in their career. Rival drivers have started paying closer attention to Hamilton's lines, brake points, and mid-corner corrections, indicating a reinvigorated sense of competition that only elevates the entire grid. What truly sets this chapter apart is Hamilton's grasp of the intangible side, the mental game. He's openly discussed how he's learned to tune out the cacophony of swirling rumors, focusing instead on constructive collaboration and consistent self-analysis. Observers note that the once fiery outbursts on team radio have diminished. Instead, he offers measured feedback, often praising the team for small wins and acknowledging his own limitations with candid clarity. This shift in attitude suggests a level of maturity that makes him even more formidable. A driver who combines raw skill with disciplined emotional control can become nearly unstoppable. If you're looking for a single turning point in this saga, Bahrain stands tall as the signpost. Yet it wasn't just about a race result. It was the moment Hamilton discovered he could bond with the car in a way that once seemed almost impossible. That transformation raised eyebrows across the paddock, prompting even his harshest critics to concede that he might yet master the prancing horse. Talk of a potential resurgence in the championship gained traction, with fans dissecting championship math and imagining scenarios in which Hamilton might claw his way back into serious contention. Nobody is calling it a guaranteed success, but the seeds of something extraordinary have undeniably been planted. His relationship with Leclerc remains a fascinating subplot. Rather than the epic blowout many predicted, it's become a study in contrasts and cooperation. On one hand, they're both fiercely competitive, each determined to be the face of Ferrari's revival. On the other, they share a mutual respect grounded in raw talent and a shared desire to push Ferrari forward. Small gestures like a joint debrief after a tough qualifying session show glimpses of genuine teamwork, while the occasional on-track battle reveals the tension that makes this partnership so electric. But what if the next big twist is just around the corner? Some say the real test will come during the European swing, when Ferrari's loyal fan base amps up the pressure on both drivers. Others point to potential clashes over car development priorities. Maybe Hamilton's input clashes with Leclerc's preferences, forcing the team to pick a side. There's also the looming question of contract negotiations. Will Hamilton commit beyond a certain period, or is he simply testing the waters before a bigger move? Each question sets the stage for fresh intrigue, keeping fans glued to every race, every practice session, every snippet of news. In the midst of all this, Hamilton's social media presence has revealed another layer of his journey. He's posted cryptic messages about reinvention, about remembering why he fell in love with racing, about discovering new motivation in the face of adversity. Such posts spark yet more chatter. Some interpret them as subtle digs at those who doubted him. Others see them as personal affirmations that he's evolving beyond the driver he was at Mercedes. Either way, they reinforce the idea that Hamilton's time in red isn't a mere continuation of his legacy. It's the start of something wholly different, a bold rewrite where every race weekend has the potential to flip the script yet again. For now, the points tally shows Hamilton trailing behind Leclerc, but those numbers rarely tell the entire story this early in a partnership. When asked about the gap, Hamilton shrugs it off with a wry smile, insisting he's chasing clarity, not a scoreboard. It's a curious statement, one that signals he's less worried about the immediate result and more focused on understanding every nuance of the car, the team, and his own evolving technique. That clarity, if he manages to sustain it, could become the bedrock of a title challenge, or it could fizzle out in a tangle of unfulfilled potential. The uncertainty only adds more fuel to the fire of speculation. By this point, you might wonder if we're heading toward a dramatic conclusion, an epic final scene where Hamilton seizes a monumental victory at Monza or dethrones his old rivals in a high-stakes showdown. But racing rarely offers such neat story arcs. The real conclusion is far more nuanced. Hamilton is in the midst of a transformation that redefines how a champion confronts the unfamiliar. And this metamorphosis is still unfolding, fueled by data-driven evolution, psychological grit, and a dogged refusal to remain confined by past successes. Because here at Auto Intel, we're not about PR spins or comfort zone analysis. We dig for the core that powers the conversation. And right now, That core is blazing with curiosity about how far Lewis Hamilton can take this Ferrari venture. In a world that thrives on second guessing and hot takes, it's refreshing to witness a driver so determined to go beyond the script, forging a path that might just change the shape of Formula One. Stay tuned because the quiet revolution has only just begun, and what happens next could shake every corner of the grid. So here we stand, watching Lewis Hamilton navigate a labyrinth that's as political as it is technical, as psychological as it is mechanical. Whether he emerges triumphant or becomes yet another talented driver, swallowed by Ferrari's relentless demands, one fact is indisputable. We're witnessing a rare moment of reinvention for one of the sport's greatest icons. And if you've followed Hamilton's career, you know how dangerous he can become once he pinpoints his direction. This isn't just another comeback narrative or a farewell tour, it's a transformation, one that demands every ounce of courage, adaptability, and mental fortitude he can muster. Hamilton's quiet revolution is underway, and it's tearing down expectations left and right. If you sense that electric current beneath the surface, you're not alone. Plenty of people around the world are feeling it too, from casual fans to the fiercest Ferrari loyalists. Change is in the air, and the next Hamilton's found a trajectory, and history tells us that once he locks onto a target, he rarely lets go. So is this the start of a new golden era for Ferrari? Or is it a delicate dance that risks collapse if one wrong move is made? However it plays out, the ramifications will reverberate across the entire Formula One landscape, setting the stage for battles that could reshape the sport for years to come. Like what you've heard so far, this story is only going to get more compelling. If you think Hamilton's just scratched the surface at Ferrari, show some love below. Hit that subscribe button if you crave more than just headlines. You want the real, raw pulse of the paddock. And of course, feel free to drop a comment. Is Hamilton's adaptation a sign of unstoppable momentum, or just a temporary flash before the next setback? One thing's for sure, racing's greatest narratives are born in moments like these, where doubt turns into discovery, and a driver decides to redefine everything we thought we knew.